Bill Dempsey, MBE, was one of the best utility players ever in the history of the West Perth Football Club. He was equally at home, forward or back, but he made his mark as a back pocket ruckman, where he partnered some of the greatest ruckmen ever to have played. Brian Blue Foley, Ray Gabelich and the great Graham Polly Farmer. He was awarded an MBE in 1976 in the Queen's Honours lists for his contribution to football. Bill Dempsey played 343 games of waffle football, all with his beloved West Perth. He played in 14 state games, 18 final round games, 4 grand finals. He was involved in 3 premiership teams, 69, 71 and 75. He was West Perth's first and best in 1966, and he won the Simpson Medal for a great performance in the 1969 grand final. Bill, it's an impressive record. I'd like to take you right back to the start, and it just appears, looking through the record, that your mother played a fairly big part in your early days in football.
Yes, she did. She was very anxious for me to, because I grew up in a mission, she was very anxious for me to sort of have a go at any opportunity that came along. I would have liked to go on and play basketball, but the opportunity to play football came first, so I grabbed the chance while I could.
Good footballer at school?
Yes, I was captain of the school team. I was also captain of the basketball team. So, you know, I was hoping one door would open for me, and football was the one that opened.
You came down to play here in Perth after, what, the Buffaloes Football Club. Did you go from schools into the Buffaloes Football Club in Darwin?
Yeah, well, I was still going to school when I came to Perth. I was in year 10. And I thought if I don't take the opportunity now, I mightn't come up again, so I left school to come and play footy.
A big move, isn't it?
Well, it was. It was a huge move, and, you know, to be truthful, I was absolutely petrified of making the move. But I thought, oh, well, I just bit the bullet and, you know, had a go. I said, if I don't have a go now, I'll never know.
Now, these medals I just talked about, you took them back to Mum's place in Darwin, and then Cyclone Tracy arrived. Can you tell us something about that? Because you lost some medals?
Well, yeah, well, it was the Simpson medal, actually. I went home and, you know, I just said to my mum one day, where's that Simpson medal? I said, you know, I've never actually seen it. I said, I got it in one hand and gave it to you in the other. And she got up and walked away. And I thought, well, that's a bit rude. And when she went out of the room, my sister said to me, don't ask her about that. And I said, why? She said, well, she's lost it. And I said, well, what happened? She said, after Cyclone Tracy, she couldn't find it. I said, oh, that's no big deal. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, then years later, you know, I was contacted to say they found it in the desert in South Australia.
But the wind got hold of it and blew it down.
I'll tell you what, must have been a strong wind. And yeah, some people looking for opals found it. And you know, the opal country there, north of South Australia, which is, my theory is someone picked up after the cyclone and then went trekking themselves and lost it. Well, I'm not going to believe anything else. No. There's a lot of spooks being talked about, but yeah, I reckon that's the theory. But yeah, it turned up again, and it's a freaky thing, you know, how it was found, and it virtually went from Perth to Darwin to South Australia, over to Sydney, back to Perth, and then back home to Darwin. So it's a well-travelled medal.
It's a wonderful story, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you follow West Australian football in Darwin in those days as a young man?
Yes, I did, because Billy Rowe, who was a famous player from Darwin, was playing for St Mary's up there, and he came and played for East Perth, and he was sort of instrumental in settling me down when I came here. So, you know, but he played in the '56 grand final, I think.
With East Perth?
With East Perth, with Square and Polly and all them. And he, you know, he was just an absolute great help to me, you know. Many's the time I was going to go home because I didn't know anyone here. But he was the one, and that's why, well, I used to follow East Perth. And, yeah.
Well, how did you get to West Perth?
Well, a gentleman called Jack Larkham, who played for West Perth and coached West Perth, went to Darwin with the then Native Affairs, and he was coaching a side up there, Wanderers, and he contacted West Perth and said there's a young, because they wanted Jimmy Anderson, West Perth, who was in the same side as I am. He was the captain, actually. and they brought him down in '59, but he went home because he got homesick. And so Jack Larkham said, well, you better send a mate with him. And I said, who's the mate? And he said, well, he grew up with Billy Dempsey, so send him. So that's how I got to go to West Perth, because I would have gone to East Perth.
You went back home a few times in the off-season?
Yeah, in the off-season.
When you first came down?
I used to go home and play for the old Buffaloes. Yeah, go home and keep fit and, see the family. Yeah. So,
well, you couldn't have walked into West Perth at a better time, really, as a 17-year-old.
Yes.
One of the really top sides in the competition, and
yep.
All of a sudden, Bill, you're in the chop up to play in a grand final.
Well, I had to wait 9 years to actually play in a grand final side. Mel Winnan was lucky. He sat on the bench in '60, but I played in the reserves. And that's the last time West Perth won the double. They won the league and the reserves grand final.
You were in the grand final squad as such, weren't you?
Well, yeah,
league squad.
Yeah. But missed out, yeah.
And you were, if Ross Eyre, for instance, had got injured,
yes,
most likely would have played.
But yeah, I probably would have got a game, yeah.
It was a pretty exciting time. Can you remember much about that year?
Oh, yeah, I can. It was, first time for me. As I said, I came in '60 and I'd never seen crowds like that, and I thought, my God, it was just an eye-opener. And, all the final series and seeing that many people together and some damn good footballs out on the track, it was really awesome for me as a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, wonderful start with you.
Oh, yeah,
career, and it would cement you
to
West Perth.
Yep, it did. I came at the right time, I think.
How did you find Arthur Oliver? He was your first coach.
Yeah, I found him to be a thorough gentleman, actually. He's like a jovial giant. He encouraged me in lots of ways, and I think I learned a bit off him.
So you would have become a regular player, say '61. You played most of the league games in '61.
Yeah, I started playing regular in '61. Yeah.
And were you playing in the forward line or?
Well, they were. I actually came to West Perth as a centre-half forward because I was only 6'1½", and. But, in 343 games, as you mentioned, I played 3 games at centre-half forward.
And you would have loved to have played there?
I would have loved to, but, yeah, well, they tried me all over the place. I was, right down the middle, full-back, centre-half back, not in the centre because Winnie was there. Centre-half forward, full forward, and in the ruck, of course.
Well, you wouldn't have got much of a run as a knock ruckman because Ray Gabelich came along in 1961 and him and Blue Foley.
Well, him and Blue Foley dominated, yeah, of course. So I used to have to sneak around the packs and pinch them off the Rovers.
You became very good at that. They had a state trial that year, as I remember it too, and you were selected in the state trial.
When was that, in?
'61, yeah, which is unusual, but they had a state trial game.
Yeah. That's right.
And I remember you playing in that as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, that was a bit of a thrill, to be recognised like that. Yeah.
But in '61, you started favourites at the start of the season, having won the premiership
yes,
before, and
yeah.
Never got in the fours.
Never got in the four, no.
And '62, you did scrape into the finals, and you won your first semi against South by 2 goals, and lost a preliminary final to Ishimantle by 10 goals, and Con Regan kicked 9 goals in that game.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
No, most probably not. And then the last year of Arthur Oliver's stint as coach, you again ran 5th. It wasn't a very exciting year for West Perth, really, but Brian France won your first and best that year. And Ron Evans,
he was playing
chairman of the board, played full forward, kicked 97 goals.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. There's some good players there. Brian France, one of the toughest nuts I've ever played with, I reckon, and a clean player, but hard, never gave in.
Never, not a great skilled player, but
no, couldn't kick.
Fellas like Baldock couldn't get a kick on him like a state game.
I played that game, and when Birdie got hurt, after half-time, Baldock got a kick, but up until then, he never got near it.
Incredible.
Birdie just cleaned him up.
Yeah. Well, in 1964, Clive Lewington arrived at the club. Now, I played under Clive Lewington in state games. Very soft speaker. You had to listen very intently.
Another thorough gentleman. Yes, he earned a lot of respect from the players, from myself and the other players. We gave him a lot of respect, and he was that type of a man. and you wanted to go out and win for him. You know, he sort of demanded that sort of respect.
Is this about the stage you were gravitating towards a back pocket as a support ruckman?
Yeah.
I mean, you were a real utility player, weren't you?
Well, yeah. But, you know, they started to move me down the back line, which I didn't like. But, you know, an old friend of mine and in Darwin, who's sort of like an uncle, always said to me, when you go away, it doesn't matter where you play, enjoy it. He said, be versatile. If they, you know, you play where they put you, and it sort of didn't bother me.
No.
But it's just that it was a lot harder working down the back line. You see those blokes up the forward line bludgeon, and you're down there trying to stop everything.
Well, you just missed out on the 4 under Clive Lewington, but then Bob Spargo came to the club.
That's right.
Now, he was a very interesting appointment. He was a very good player and a very good state player, but he didn't have a lot of coaching experience.
No, and that came out, you know, in his, his time there as a coach. He was more of a player's player than a coach, really. I think they shouldn't have, you know, given him the coaching job. And it detracted a little bit sometimes from his own performance on the field.
You had a pretty good side, didn't you, in 1965?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, not a bad side.
You got in the finals.
Yeah, we got there, but, you know, it was his inexperience, I suppose, as a coach. And they expected a bit much of him, I thought.
Your old mate Brian Foley retired at the end of 65 also.
Yeah, Big Blue.
How good was he, Bill?
Yeah, he was. He was one of the best, you know, as a footballer and as a gentleman. I never ever seen him lose it. You know, he's just one of those kind of people. Big heart, loved West Perth, and looked after all the other players around him. You know.
You had a wonderful combination with him, didn't you?
Yes, yes. I learned a lot of him and Lizard Porter.
Yep.
They were the two. Yeah, and they taught me a heck of a lot. You know, one of the first times when I came here, I couldn't get over how big he was. I'd never seen a bloke that big before.
Well, not many of us had seen him that big either. We're all about 6'3".
Yeah, and he was a gentle giant too. Lovely man.
Yeah, well, you lost the first semi to Ishamela by 3 goals, so that was the end of that season. But you made your state debut, I think, in 65, didn't you, against the VFA? Do you remember playing?
I don't know what year I made it.
We played the VFA and then we played the VFL on the Saturday, and then the VFL again on the Tuesday.
On the Tuesday, like they used to, yeah.
I just got a feeling you played on the Tuesday game. I know you played, and I think you played on a half-back flank or somewhere. It was quite foreign to you.
Yes. Yeah, they used to chuck me in places which, you know, you wasn't normally. But, you know, I used to just do my best.
Well, the 66, you ran third again under Bob Spargo, and you won the first semi-final, beat Ishamela by 6 goals. It's always good to beat Ishamela, I thought, in those days, Bill.
Yep, sure is.
But you lost the preliminary final to East Perth by 7 goals, and I can remember in that game because you were clearly best man on the ground in that preliminary final against East Perth. You lost comfortably, but you had one of your really big games.
Yeah.
That doesn't come to mind?
No.
In fact, in 1966, Bill, that must be rated as almost one of your best seasons. You won all the awards. I mean, the only thing you didn't win really that year was the Sandover medal.
That's right.
You got 11 votes.
Yes, that's right.
But you won a motor car. And
yeah, it was a good year for me. You know, I felt I was really fit, and I used to, you know, train pretty hard, and when I was in the process of looking after myself and, you know, cementing my... I was working at Hume's then, in the accounts department, and yeah, the thing I remember most about that year is the car. That I never had a new car in my life, so I decided I'd drive it back to Darwin and show off, so to speak, you know. And I was only there 2 days, and my mum said, listen, if you want to go anywhere, we'll take you, and drop you off. And never saw the car again.
That's right.
Never saw it again.
Is that right?
They kept it. I flew back. You know, I couldn't say no. I had it for a month, so that was all right.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time in your life, wasn't it?
Oh,
You'd be lauded back in
Darwin. Yeah, I was, you know.
Were you still going back then, having the odd game?
Yeah, still playing for the Old Buffs, because, you know, it was a way of keeping fit too, you know. And the Old Buffaloes, you know, I only ever played for 2 teams, Buffaloes and West Perth, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and it's...
and what about the championships in Hobart in 1966?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was a bit disappointing, but, you know, I never got picked, but that's, you know.
You weren't injured?
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't injured. Don't know the reason why. I probably got cheek to one of the selectors or something.
Yeah, because you're being a utility player, you know, just appeared as though you would have been ideal for the
Yes.
Carnival.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing not to go, but
Yeah.
you know, you accept these things.
Yeah, well, Bob Spargo was there for the third year. You ran fourth in 1967. You lost the first semi to South by 7 goals, but you got picked in the state side. Went over and played on the MCG.
Yeah, remember that. Yeah.
Now, you were the first Darwin player to ever play on the MCG.
That's right, yeah, and that's an interesting little thing, yeah.
You lost as usual by 10 goals.
Yeah, I remember
How
that
did you
day.
find the MCG, Bill? That was it's a different ground, wasn't it?
It was a different ground, but it was sort of like a bit like Darwin in the wet. Only it was, you know, a lot colder. I mean, I didn't, you know, it didn't sort of bother me. It was a bit heavy underfoot, but, you know, there were about 6 West Australians playing in that so-called Victorian side. I think Polly Farmer was playing for Victoria.
Yeah, he was.
And I remember going up to him and I said, you know, I reckon you're a hypocrite, Paul, wearing that big V, because I wanted to upset him, you know, and he just told me to get stuffed.
You weren't a stirrer, were you, Bill?
No way.
Now, back home, after the MCG, we played South Australia, beat them by 12 goals. I mean, you and Ray Boyanich played, and you played as ruckman that day. I thought you both played very well.
Yeah, I remember that game against South Australia, yeah. And Big Boyo, yeah, he...
It was a very good team that we had then.
Yeah. And Boyo went on, then he went, not long after that, he went over to Victoria to play for Richmond.
Yeah. Did you get any offers to go to?
Yeah, I got a few offers, but one of the reasons why I didn't go, I was, you know, I sort of had an obligation to support my family, and just things were pretty tough in those days for me mum, and because there's, you know, 8 kids, and mum was struggling a bit, and that's one of the reasons why I was playing footy, you know, helping to support her. And 2 clubs who were chasing me, and I said to him, well, what sort of a contract are you going to give me? And they said, well, we'll pay you per game and give you a signing on fee and so much per winning game and so much per losing game. I said, no, that's not good enough. I said, I want you to buy me a business because if I get hurt, at least I've still got an income coming in. And they, you know, one of them actually said to me, who do you think you are, Polly Farmer? I says, no, I'm younger. So that's why I didn't go. I said, my family can't eat glory. I can't eat glory. You need money. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't go. Yeah, if they would have set me up in something, I think I would have gone. But as it was, I stayed here and I ended up starting a scaffold business through West Perth. So, you know, I got what I wanted.
Who was that with Barry Day? And
yeah, me and Barry Day kicked it over. Yeah, and it was, you know, we from a little corner shop, you know, we used to employ about 20 people, and you know, it was a challenge. And 16 years we had it, you know, so that's what I wanted: stability, you know, and security. So
there was no money around for transferring to Victoria in those days, was it? Was just the honour and glory. Did you ever regret not going for a couple of seasons?
No, I never regretted going there. No, but as I said, if I would have got a good offer later on, any time down the track, you know, I would have thought about it. But no, I was pretty happy where I was.
Yeah, and you were just about permanently playing at the back pocket ruckman at this stage.
Yep. Yeah, resting in the back pocket. You say resting, working in the back pocket.
Well, 68 was a pretty exciting time because out of the blue, Polly was appointed coach.
That's right.
How was that received at West Perth?
Well, you know, to actually think that Polly would be coaching West Perth, I thought that was a bit odd because I thought, you know, if anyone would get him, he'd go back home to his old team, you know, East Perth. And yeah, they were exciting times. Polly brought a new concept into the way we played football and the way we trained. He was a great leader because he was still playing then himself, but he had, as you know, great knowledge of the game, fearless and expected, you know, to win every game.
Did you toughen up under Polly Farmer?
We all sort of toughened up. He introduced this training scheme which we were training 5 nights a week under him. Yeah, wonder we never got divorced. We played 5 nights a week, and then we played footy on Saturday. So that's 6 out of 7. You know?
What about Sunday morning? Did it be a Sunday morning?
No, the only time, oh yeah, and he'd count them. The only time we didn't train was Friday night, and Polly had the audacity to say to us, you know, if you blokes were fair dinkum, you'd come down and do about 20 laps on Friday night before you went home. I said, you've got to be joking. Not getting the money.
So how did the players generally react to that type of professionalism?
Well, a lot of the players were in awe of him, naturally, because of who he was. Him and I used to have quite a few blues, because I used to, you know, backhands him, and he didn't like that. So he'd, but still had a lot, you know, great respect for him. But if he said jump, and you know,
it was a formidable combination, Farmer and Dempsey.
Yeah,
took it into a couple of state games too.
Oh yeah, I mean that combination. But yeah, well, we had a little thing worked out, me and him, you know, and it was good playing alongside of him. Yeah, but you know, at the end of his career, and you probably used to do this, people, how does Polly still get up in the air and go bang? Well, I'm on the ground holding 2 blokes down. That was, you know, well, it was a combination of it. So it didn't matter who got the ball.
Yeah. He was a great believer in set plays out of the centre, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he went to a lot of effort, like you holding people down and a wingman getting going in some direction.
No, he a great planner, and he expected a lot out of all the players, and he got it too.
Well, you won 18 games.
Yeah, yeah.
You're second on the premiership list.
Yeah.
And you lost the second semi to Perth by 5 goals.
That's right, yeah.
Now that's the day you played centre-half back, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
How did you enjoy that? I mean, when you think of you should have been a great centre-half back.
Well, that's right. Well, every time we played East Perth, Polly used to put me on Brownie if he was a centre-half forward. And I said, well, no, why don't you go on him? So, no, you go on there. I'm the captain coach, you go and play on him. And, you know, he used to play centre-half forward. You know, I think he won a Sandover playing centre-half forward, Brownie. Yeah.
How did you go with the likes of Brown and
we used to have
they would have worked over, wouldn't they?
We used to have our stashes. Oh, you know, you know what Brownie's like.
And Mel Atwell.
Yeah, and Atwell, Atwell, had a lot of run-ins with him.
Did he test you?
Yeah, he did. But he just about knocked me out the second game I played.
Mel Atwell?
Mel Atwell, yeah. And he didn't even say sorry.
Did you tell him?
Yeah, I told him. Him and Watsy were playing in the back, and Watsy was full back and he was in the back pocket. Tough bugger. Yeah, I know. Brownie and I had a lot of stouses and, you know, over the years, but we got to be, you know, good mates after the footy, which is the way it
You never took things off the field in those days?
No.
What was said or what was done, that was sort of left on the field. And it was a tough game, but it was good.
Oh, look, and you respected it. Look, my best mate, you know, Erwin Lewis.
Yeah.
He bloody lined me up one day to iron me out, and I saw him coming. And as we were walking off the ground, he came out, bad luck. I think they lost, and he came to shake my hand. I was not shaking your hand. He said, "What for?" I said, "Hey, you was going to try and clean me up out there." He says. He stepped over the white line. He says, "Yeah, but that was over there." Me and Louis were good mates. Yeah. But he was fair dinkum. Step over the line, that was it. He says, "You knock me, mate. Buggy, if I can knock you over, I will."
Yeah. I knew him well, you know. I played cricket with him.
Yeah, top fella. Yeah, he was. Really good bloke.
Yeah. Well, then in '68, you lost the preliminary final by 3 points to East Perth, and that would have hurt a bit because there was that rivalry was already there, wasn't it?
It was there. It was, and you know, it was good for Waffle, that rivalry.
Well, you kicked 6 goals in the last quarter in that game to lose by 3 points, so that's one hell of a game.
Yeah.
And you had a big one yourself, didn't you?
Yeah. But, you know, I liked playing in those games because it brought the best out. You know, in those days, it's a stack Leederville Oval and stack Perth Oval. And you knew you had a game on your hands, you know. And I think it was good for, you know, the general football watching public that those games were played, you know.
What was the feeling at East Perth with Polly going to West Perth? Did
Oh,
you gauge anything there?
Oh, yeah, some of those guys used to get into him. You know, but Polly, you know, you couldn't upset him. He just, you know, in one ear and out the other. He just, once he's out there, he just concentrated and you know, they could say anything to him. You know, nothing happened. He just kept on going.
I don't think I ever heard him say anything on the field, you know.
Him and Winnan were like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good player, Mel Winnan.
Oh, yeah, good player, good player.
Incredible your careers, how they ran parallel to each other.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, we both started the same year. Actually, when I retired in '76, I just jokingly said to him, I got a 20-cent piece. I said, well, Winnie, we played 17 seasons now. What do you want to do? Heads or tails? Whoever loses retires. The other one can have another year. And I wanted to retire anyways.
Had enough?
I said, no, I'm going. You can stay. Yeah, I had enough there. Yeah. I think I went at the right time.
Yeah. Now, '69, Polly's coaching came to the fore. That was a resounding win, wasn't it?
What a year. East Perth had beaten us 3 times that year.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And we were actually, you know, we wasn't sure what was going to happen grand final day.
The second semi was a tough game, I thought.
Oh, was it ever for us to get through. Yeah. And yeah, we only beat them in the finals.
Yep.
And they had to front up again in the grand final.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was and you won the Simpson Medal in the grand final.
That's right.
Was that, would you class now that your best game?
Yeah, I reckon. And I think it was the best grand final I played in because it just had everything. And me mum, they flew me mum down and you know, there's a big contingent from Darwin. Oh, about 200 people came down to watch the grand final from Darwin. You know, which was good for me because it boosted me up, you know.
Well, that's the most physical I've ever seen you in that game, I reckon.
Yeah, it was tough. It was... But I suppose with Mum being, because in Darwin, my mum never used to watch me play footy because I didn't play for her team. Her brothers played for Wanderers, who Jack Larkham coached, and I played for Buffaloes, so she never watched me.
Disowned you?
Yeah, she disowned me. That's the first time she actually saw me play footy. It was in that '69 grand final. Yeah.
The much-travelled Simpson.
Yeah, the start of that saga.
Yeah. Well, your hot favourites coming in 1970, and you never even made the four.
Yeah.
You finished 6th. You did lose players, didn't you?
We lost some.
Valley and...
Yeah, but I think we took it a bit easy too, which is unusual for Polly to let that happen. But we snapped out of it in '71. We could have won. We should have won in '70, but you know, I think a lack of concentration and maybe you know being a bit big-headed, I suppose, and you know. Thinking we can do the same as we did in '69.
You had a good game in the state game against South Australia that year.
Yeah.
Wet day.
Yeah, I remember that year.
Yeah, and at that stage, I think that was your best state game. I played in that game. No, I didn't play in that game. But
that was in Adelaide, wasn't it?
I broadcast the game, yeah.
That was in Adelaide.
Yeah, Polly was captain.
That's right, yeah.
So you got together with Polly again.
Yeah, we got together again.
And then you played in that really great game in Melbourne, where you lost to the Vicks by, what, a goal?
6 points.
When Gary Dempsey, your namesake, he must have taken 10 or 11 marks.
Well, me and Polly had a big argument about that game. He pulled the forward pocket ruckman out and to lock it in. And all we were doing was kicking the ball, I forget who's for, Phil Smith of mine? No, I can't remember. And all Gary Dempsey's doing, he's on his own, he's just marking every ball that went down. I said, Polly, send the bloody ruckman back down there. At least he might punch the ball, you know, might soccer a goal or something.
The ball only had to travel another metre and it was a goal each time. I remember Duperuzal played a sensational
That's right, he did, yeah. And, you know, but he wouldn't. He's so pig-headed. And I said, you know, after the game, I said, well, you made him BOG and he's beaten us by himself because, you know, our bloke wasn't on him. He wouldn't take that chance. But I met Gary after that. Him and I actually went out. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
West Australia never before or never since have got that close to Vicks on the MCG.
No, never.
It was incredible form. Was it dry that day?
No, it was wet. It was wet. Yeah, it was wet that day. And I thought we had them. Thought we bloody had them. 7 for that last quarter, especially the last 20 minutes. Gary Dempsey just marked everything down there because you know, he's a big, tall man. And, you know, we made the mistake of kicking it right, you know, bombing it too. But if we had the forward pocket ruckman there, we might have had a chance, you know, for him to punch it or something. But anyway, it's all
Just
history now.
Just looks like you weren't meant to win that.
Yeah, that's right.
You had that many shots of goal.
Oh, look, you wouldn't believe it. You know, it was so frustrating. And Victorians in general, you know how parochial they are.
Oh.
Were they giving us heaps?
But they would have been delighted to see a good game on the MCG.
Oh, yeah.
Bill, we used to have great games against Victoria here in Perth.
Yes.
Most times they were close, and we won our share of them here in Perth, but we could never get near them on the MCG. So
no,
I think the Victorian public would have loved a close game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Now, you went down to Tassie and lost by 2 points.
Yeah.
Well, did you all get on the booze or something?
No. No, it was too cold. It was very cold that day we went there. Yeah. But no, we just weren't good enough. I think we were, had the wind taken out of us, previously. Yeah.
Well, it was a wet game in Melbourne. It would have taken a bit out of it.
Yes, it was wet in Melbourne.
And that would have been, what, a midweek game? Or was that
no, that was a Saturday game.
Another Saturday game,
yeah. That was a Saturday game. Yeah.
Well, it was quite an eventful year for you, 69, the 70s, I should say, but 71, premiers again.
Premiers again, yeah.
Sounding win.
Yeah.
And East Perth, you lost the second semi to East Perth, I think.
Yeah. And
then beat East Fremantle in the preliminary final.
Yeah, we came the other way in 71. They come through from the bottom, so to speak, whereas we went straight to the grand final in 69. So it was a different experience, Yeah. We had to work all the way.
Gee, you were formidable in the... in fact, the Farmer-Dempsey combination was really up and running in state games and West Perth league games. And I mean, you beat East Perth by, what, 5 goals? Shane Sheridan won the Simpson
medal, Yeah, no, it was... Yeah, well, we were flowing pretty, and we had a good understanding, me and Paul, So, yeah, it worked pretty well.
Why did he give it away at the end of that season?
I often asked him that, and he just said he's had enough. He said, I only wanted to coach, for 4 years anyway.
2 premierships?
Yeah, 2 premierships. Not bad, isn't it?
No, 50% result.
Yeah, and he said, no, I had enough. He just gave it away.
Now, Peter Stewart took over in 72.
Yes.
Chalk and cheese?
Yeah, Stewie didn't want to coach. But, they gave it to him anyway. Stewie was a real man's man. Like, he'd organise the booze-ups. And he can't have the coach doing that.
You got him before, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I think we got him before, yeah. But, he just didn't know how to coach anyway, Stewie.
And then you were picked for the championships in Perth in 72. But as I remember it, you damaged your shoulder against South Australia earlier in the game against South Australia.
I don't know who it was against.
Yeah, it was.
And I always blame Ken McCauley for that, who, since we've become good mates, he let the Victorian full forward run out, and I was running backwards, watching the ball, and the bloke just ran straight into my shoulder and knocked my collarbone out. Yeah.
He won the Tassie, didn't he?
Yeah.
That year, playing that fullback.
I said, you won the Tassie and you had me blooming collarbone knocked out. You're a good mate, you are.
Did you take any further part in the championships? I don't think you did,
no, I couldn't.
And West Australia beat South Australia and Tassie and lost by Vicks. With their 8 goals. Yeah. In 73, again a new coach, Dennis Jones.
Yes, interesting man. Yeah. Very arrogant, rude man.
That's right.
And he just completely lost the respect of all the players, the way he spoke to them, the way he coached them. One of his first things was to drop Mel Winnan, or attempt to drop Mel Winnan. And Winnie was going through some bad times, and Jonesy didn't help him. And we were playing Swans one day, and I think that's when Max George kicked 14 goals or something there. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And the runner came out to tell Mel to come off the ground, because those days, when you come off, you can't come back on again.
No interchange.
And I told the runner to nick off. I said, leave him alone. I said, Winnie, don't go. And he didn't. Caused a big stink. Me and Dennis Jones just about had fisticuffs.
All right.
So I said, you shouldn't be in the same room as Mel Wynn. He's a better man than you'll ever be. And well, he did. He just lost the respect of all the players.
Well, you were runners-up with all the trauma. You got beat by 7 goals by Subi.
Subi, yeah.
You beat Subi in the second semi, lost the grand final.
Lost the grand final.
Yeah.
Well, we had, actually, playing yesterday for Subiaco, his son, Phil Smith, played the whole season for us, and he was averaging about 5 goals a game, and he got hurt in one of the finals, and he didn't play the grand final. So we didn't have a full forward.
Wow. Good full forward he was.
Good,
Too.
yeah,
Big mark.
yeah, big mark. Well, his son played for Subiaco yesterday against West Perth.
Bradley.
Bradley, yeah. And I'll tell you what, he's not bad. He kicked 3 goals in the first half, and I think, oh, don't kick any more. Don't kick any more.
Well, no one begrudges Subi. That was the first premiership for about 49 years, under Ross Smith, wasn't it?
Ross Smith, yeah. Well, that's what I said to I was in the Subi, my Goody. I said, you know, you got to thank West Perth. You know, we're a Christian club. We let you win this. I mean, we'd won a couple down the track, you know. So, the Subi let them go. Stir them up.
Well, you were 31 in 1973, the way I see it. You poled 13 Sandover medal boats.
Oh, yeah,
Caves won it with 25, but you had a pretty big year.
Yeah, I didn't remember that one. Those votes, yeah.
But then in 74, Dennis Jones...
74 we came last. First time.
Runners up to last.
Oh, yeah, absolute
6 wins for the season.
Stone motherless last. I'll never forget that year. And virtually that same team went into 75. It was just the only difference was coaching. Graham Campbell walked into a side that was just busting to win. Not a grand final, but, you know, to have a better season than they had the season before, because we're all so embarrassed about, you know, how we played, and, you know, no excuses. I mean, can't blame the coach. We should have, you know, had more pride in ourselves. So when Graham Campbell came along, he couldn't believe it. He just walked in and talked his way into a grand final. You know, from the first game, we knew we were going to go places, but, you know, hoping for a grand final.
We'll compare Graham Campbell, say, with Polly or your first coach.
I don't think you can compare him with Polly. I think Polly would have been the best coach I ever played under. And the difference was, too, that Polly played. And the fact that he could play and coach at the same time, I thought was a pretty big feat. Not Dennis Jones. Graham Campbell could talk.
Good motivator? Did he motivate people?
No, I don't think so. We motivated ourselves. I was captain then, and I'd been captain for a few years, and you know, they were just all busting to go. We were a closely knit mob of blokes because we stuck together, and, you know, we realised we owed something to our supporters for the, you know, dismal performance the year before. And oh yeah, I mean, you know, not for me, he didn't motivate me, he might have motivated some other people, because I just, you know, as captain I felt that, you know, I was responsible for a lot of things that happened in 74. So, you know, it was a big load on my shoulders to make amends to the, you know, committee and to the supporters of our club.
As captain, did you have a bit to say to the players?
Oh yeah. I had a lot to say to them, yeah. I felt that was my job, you know, out on the ground.
Once you got out there, you pull them all together?
Yeah, pull them all together and, you know, urge them on, and you know, get the older blokes there that were there to say, you know, just keep patting them on the back, keep boosting them up, and, you know.
Look people in the eye?
Yeah, knock that bloke down. And
well, you didn't muck around in the finals, did you?
No.
You beat Swans by 13 goals in the second semi.
Yeah.
And then you won the grand final by what?
Yeah.
17 goals, I think it was, against South Fremantle.
That's phenomenal. That's, yeah, Barry Day kicked 7 goals in the last quarter, but it was all over Red Rover. But they had a good side, and it was nearly the same side. It was played in 74.
Yeah. Last to first.
Yep, last to first.
And Mel Winnan won the Simpson.
Yeah, Winnie won the Simpson, yeah.
Lucky Jonesy didn't get rid of him.
Yeah. Just goes to show, doesn't it? You know, yeah.
Well, you had one more season left in you.
Yeah, I played 76, and I thought, oh, well, I knew halfway through the season, you know, I mean, I was getting that way, you know, I couldn't jump, and you know, that was the only thing that kept me going in the ruck, because as a young fellow, you know, I'd you know, leaps that I can, you know, match it with but in the end, you know, I just couldn't get off the ground, so I thought, oh, it's time to, you know, let go. I mean, I'd had 17 seasons, for goodness sake, and, you know, very lucky.
You had wonderful judgment in the air, Bill.
Yes.
It wasn't all about flying high, was it?
No. It was, well, that took a lot of practice, Keith. When I was a young bloke in Darwin, this fella who used to look after me, and he virtually taught me about marking and all that. And
A lot of kick to kick up there.
oh, heaps of it. And you know, well, like in the mission where I grew up, you know, there's about 100 boys there, and imagine the competition there, and they'd be jumping on people's heads and, you know, flying sideways, and so a lot of competition. And it started all those years ago because we were mad on footy. You know, we just loved footy.
Bill, did you have a standout game in your career? One that really sticks in your mind?
Only that 69 grand final. That to me was the biggest standout, you know, to be actually out there. And I just looked around and I could see me mum, she's behind the goal post, and I thought, all we got to do is win. And at the end of the game, I just stood there and I just waved to her. She waved back, and I can't get any better than this.
Oh,
yeah?
Wonderful.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And who's the best player you ever played on?
Well, there were lots of them, you know, in my day. Well, I played on you. You was a hard bastard. John McIntosh, I had great admiration for him. Ray Sorrell, I used to love watching him play football. Kenny Bagley, I played on him a few times. Boy, gee, he was a tough nut too.
He was.
And no, you know, they all spread out throughout the teams, you know, of that era. And I respected the players I played against, you know, and I just, my situation was just go out and do your best. You know, if they're better than you, accept it.
Well, they respected you too.
Well,
it's nice to be respected.
Oh yeah, look, and I know that from after the games. And in those days, like if we played at Bassendean, we'd stay behind and have a few drinks in the bar.
Yep.
You know, and that used to be good. You'd meet other supporters, and you know, and get to know the players, and you know, I liked that camaraderie from those days.
Well, I can always remember walking across from the change rooms to the Swans Club. Have a beer, or leave, or vice versa. It was usually walking with you and Mel Winham.
Yeah, Winnie. Winnie never used to drink in those days.
No.
He does now.
His father used to come with him.
Yeah, his father, yeah. His dad always wanted him to go to East Perth. But when he was in the West Perth area in Boundary. So,
Who's the best footballer you've ever seen, you reckon, Bill?
Polly, I reckon, he's the best I've seen. You know, he could do anything, I reckon. He was very good to watch. You know, he was hard. He played the game, and you know, amazing thing, he never kicked with his right foot. Never ever. He was a left footer.
Never had to.
Never had to.
Had that handball.
Yeah, well, it's either his handball or his left
kick.
Foot. Oh, top kick, absolutely top. But you know, you see others. I used to have to revert to my left foot on any occasion, but I never saw Paul. He always had time to either get his kick away
or
handball it. You know, pound for pound, I reckon he's.
And what about the game today, Bill? Exciting, but 3 umpires. How do you like the game? The laws of the game as they're interpreted now.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm old-fashioned, I suppose, but this, you know, kicking backwards and sideways, and you know, lucky. I mean, they're going to go out there with the tape measure. Hang on a minute. Stop the ball. We'll see if it's actually gone 15 metres. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you know, like when the fullback kicks out, there's always someone there, and there's 18 on 18. Should never happen. No
lovely marking contest.
No. Oh well, you hardly see blokes take marks. They're like we used to in the packs. You know, they're all. Yeah, I reckon no. Our football's more exciting, and you know, my interpretation of it. They say it's a fast game, but you know, one of the fastest running we had was Stephen Smith, and he could do 10 seconds for 100 yards. And players today don't run that any faster than that. It's the ball that goes fast. It's not the players. They move the ball fast.
Do you think the champions of the past would be champions today?
I think so, because they'd adapt. You know, they'd adapt. You know, because blokes like yourself, Polly, and all those good, skillful players, they'd just take it in their stride. You know, I reckon.
Well, West Perth did the right thing. You had a nice send-off of the testimonial dinner.
Yep, they did.
That was nice to be recognised again.
Yes, it was. I got no complaints about, ever coming to, West Perth and Perth. I think, give them a chance again, I'd do it again, because, Perth and West Perth are really good to me. I'm a very lucky person. I've got no injuries or set my fingers, but You know, so I've come out of it pretty good. You know, still got a lot of friends, and you know, still go to the footy.
17 seasons, 343 games,
Yeah.
14 state games, 18 final round premierships, final round appearances, 3 premierships, played in 4 grand finals, 1 on MBE. Congratulations on your contribution to football, Bill.
Thanks very much, Keith. Thanks a lot.
Well done, mate.